Radio Zero.
It's Radio Zero with... Wait, is it time? It's Radio Zero with Rick and Rose. It's been so long.
Well, you didn't like me pointing at you, so we're...
You know what, Rick? When you point at somebody, one finger is pointing at them, 3 fingers are pointing back at you, and 1 finger is pointing at God.
Wow.
Yeah, we learned that in Capoeira the other day.
You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or go to radiozero.us. You can search for Radio Zero with Rick and Rose. Hopefully we're live streaming on Facebook on the Radio Zero page and the Poster Children page, on Twitch at PCJCUSA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel. And you can patronize us at patreon.com/Radio Zero. All right. Got some heavy breathing going on there. You okay? You doing some heavy thinking?
No, it's our child, wants to know how much money he's getting for...
All right. That's not not something we're going to talk about on the show.
No. Okay. So let me just have a little taste of the coffee here. It seems like forever since we've done this. Why does it seem like that? Oh, because last time we had special guests on, right?
Yeah, and it's been a eventful 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
For us, at least the end of the semester, and lots of things to do, people to see, potential transmission events in retrospect.
So over the past like week, one of our baby rats has, and it's not a baby anymore, it's a 2-year-old rat. One of our rats has taken ill. Do you have any music to play for Dallin Squeaks the rat? I'm just wondering which. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. No. What the heck is going on? Okay, so yeah, so we took him to the vet. I think we took him to the vet on Friday morning, last Friday. We have this amazing vet here. I mean, I don't know. Maybe all vets are amazing, but this one is a friend of mine who was also a Taekwondo instructor. And so he saw him, like we I think Graham texted him overnight or something. He's like, come at 7:45 in the morning. So we did. He looked at him and he said, oh, this little guy's not doing well. And then, here are the different options. And, there's always, we have never had pets because I can't even stand when a plant dies here. Like, it makes me crazy when a plant dies. So, you want to come in and talk about your rat? No. Okay. So, I got my mind got off the track here. But so and I'm always worried that that you'll have to make a choice. Like, okay, well, either $500 or your rat dies, or your cat dies, or your dog dies, or stuff. Stuff
Sophie's
like that.
Choice.
Yeah, which is
either
a movie.
the rat lives or your husband lives.
I've never seen that movie. That would be an easy choice to make, probably, for me.
Man,
because rats only live for 2 years, and this rat
and
is
I've had a
2 years
full
old.
life.
Yeah.
So why?
So
yeah.
he's anyway. So we brought him in, and the doctor said, "No, he's severely dehydrated. Here's how to give him. You're gonna have to give him shots." So he showed us how to give the rat shots, and he provided us with some liquid to shoot, to shoot him with and stuff like that. So subcutaneous shots of liquid, and then and antibiotics, which Graham had to drive to Peoria, like an hour away, to get. An hour there, an hour back. And Graham did that. And the antibiotics were like $50. And seeing the doctor was like, the poor little rat peed on the table. And the doctor said, "Oh, I want that, and he scooped it up in like a syringe, and then went back and like did some analysis on it, and told us that he could have an infection or he could have a kidney thing or something like that. So what we
So I'm curious about the antibiotics that have to be obtained in Peoria.
I
Are
know.
they special rat antibiotics, or
I have
that
no
you
idea.
can't
It
just
was
use
really
people?
really hard to believe
antibiotics?
that we had to schlep all the way out there, but he said we did. And so
Compounding pharmacy, is that the nearest compounding pharmacy?
that's it.
Yeah.
It said something about compounding.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It
I think there
actually
used to be one in town,
yeah.
but they went out of
Yeah,
business.
interesting. So anyway, yeah. So we've been. So we've been giving this poor rat shots. That's been like all I could think of. Like I'd stay up all night, worrying about having to give this poor rat shots because he squeaks, he yelps, and he's obviously, he's really sick anyway. So, and I had to give myself subcutaneous shots, when I was pregnant with both kids. So and I, they didn't really hurt to me, but. So you have to you squeeze a little bit of his skin, and then you just shoot, stick the needle in, and he yelps and stuff like that, and it's so hard. But finally, like about 5 days, and Graham's been such a trooper, just holding it takes one person to hold the rat and the other person to give the shot. And Graham's been great, and he's like, to your health. But I finally asked the doctor because we were only giving 2/3 of the amounts of shots because I couldn't handle it. It made me feel so bad. And I finally said to the doctor, is giving him the shots hurting him? And the doctor said, not giving him the shots would be hurting him. And I was like, okay then.
That's a
And
doctor
so-
answer.
Well, yeah, he also said, he texted me and he said, thank you for your love for Dallin.
Oh,
He's a great vet. But, and then I got pissed off at my mom because my mom's like, did you ever think you'd actually love an animal like that? And I was like, what the fuck? So I've been hand feeding this rat. I spend hours every day cuddling this rat and like hand feeding him and like making food for him and stuff like that. And he's getting, seems like he's getting better. Like it actually seems like he's getting better. So I don't know. It'll be amazing if he lives longer. But it's like all the 3 rats have really, really wonderful personalities. But this rat, you'd pick him up and he'd preen you immediately. He'd give you a little how they kind of vibrate on their own skin. They go zzz, how they do that to fix their fur. This rat would do that to your skin. He'd be, it's like a sign of love. Just a wonderful little rat. So we owe him, I feel like. But anyway, I was really mad at my mom for because Rose, obviously she's an animal hater. She doesn't have 100 cats in her house and stuff. And I don't have that because, like I said, I can't handle when a fucking plant is dying. I worry about. I can't handle when my shoe is on the floor and a train is coming by because I'm worried my shoe is scared. That's how bad it is. And I was thinking about like 1 year we finally got a Christmas tree, right? A live Christmas tree. Never in my life, we never had. We're Jews. We never had Christmas trees in our house, and we got a live Christmas tree that 1 year. And I couldn't believe the smell. The smell was so wonderful in the house. But the whole time, I was aware that there was this dying being in our house. And I was thinking about that. I couldn't handle the fact that there was this living creature, this tree dying in our house. It did not seem festive to me. And so now we have a plastic tree that doesn't die. So I'm not a soul hater. I'm not sure if I feel worthy of capturing animals in my house or having them living in a cage, or I'm not for my own pleasure, for my own purposes. That seems odd to me. That's all. Does that make me an animal hater?
I don't know. My question is do trees have souls?
You can ask Rick Powers that. Stephen Williams says, bit more beard and Rick will look just like the guy who made the new doc on the Starved Rock murders. Yeah. Yeah. At least it's like, the beard is really soft now. I'm getting used to it. If you know, and it's like an old man aesthetic. You want to look like an old man, so you have a beard, right? Is that why you have a beard?
Actually, I think it counters a bit of the old man.
No,
This is the
it
point.
doesn't.
Yeah, you're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong. You look
When-
like an old man when you have a beard.
When you
If I
have
had
a double chin, you have a
Well.
waddle, you look like an old man too. So
do you remember what happened? Remember what Dow said the last time you shaved your beard? Oh, it's young daddy.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Oh, Dow needs to be picked up.
Okay.
I will text the other. You talk. I've been talking all this
Wha-
time.
I'm just gonna talk. Well, I had something to talk about, but now I can't remember because we focused on my hirsuteness. How about that Omicron? Am I saying it right? Omicron. Just doesn't sound right. Like, why would a letter have? Why do those letters have such long names?
I thought it was Omnicron too. Isn't that
No.
funny? It's Omicron.
Yeah.
Omicron. I was never in the Greek system, so
Right, but that's is that letter used a lot? I don't feel like people chant Kappa Kappa Omicron that much.
okay, yeah. So we don't know if it hurts people, right?
It's
That's
COVID. I think it is. I think people get sick with it. I think they just don't know the severity. They don't know if it's more severe than.
They need more people to get sick, so they can figure out.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
actually true.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and then they need, yeah. And so it does seem like this week I just read something that it does seem to be moving pretty quickly. So
it'll go through the through the population fast then.
yeah, and so our school, we finished finals week last week, and this week is already downtime. But your niece? Yeah, your niece just got sent home from Cornell. They
Yeah.
shut down completely.
Yeah.
Got rid of or went online with finals week. So everyone's a little, I think, shaken because we're not sure. And our campus, we've got a 90+ vaccination rate for faculty. Students are hovering in the 70s. And so that's where everything starts breaking down, is if we can't get our vaccination numbers up for this next semester. We got a month downtime.
Did you like teaching in person? Was it like, oh, now I I like it more now. Like, did you like miss it?
No, I'm not. But I'm not. Like I said, I don't like 100% online teaching, and I don't like 100% in-person teaching. I'm a real fan of blended hybrid sort of scenarios. So, I think, So for me, I'm just going to say the issues. So the online issues, right? So everyone thought they hated online learning, but at least my perspective with the hybrid is the reality, which is, they do kind of like online learning, a lot of it, which is like they don't have to sit in a room listening to me talk at them, right? They can do that in their own time, on their own time, watching a video, and then in the classroom, you have quizzes, making sure that they're watching the videos. You got to do that. I learned that very early on. I learned that 5 or 6 or 7 years ago.
And they still like
that was
like,
the big thing.
That's the
And
worst
then
thing.
let's not. And then answering questions, helping out. But I think that's the issue right now is the idea that I'm there, I'm available. This is your opportunity. We have a scheduled time to work on problems and for answering questions, and not everyone takes that opportunity. And so that to me is, but that's what always happens, right? So it even happens if you have office hours. It's like everyone, or not everyone takes advantage of that. And so it's typical problems with in person. I think maybe the general thing is that I think everyone's questioning, like they always do, why am I in college? Not everyone. No. Yeah. So some students are and some students aren't. And I don't know if I think some things changed, but I think sometimes you can view these momentous events as having an effect. But I feel like a lot of times these were problems pre-pandemic too. It's like people don't know, I didn't want to go to class when I was in college.
That's the worst thing, is that like I had like a rule where if the teacher made a mistake on the transparency, I just wouldn't go to the class anymore. And now here I am, like standing in front of a classroom, and I'm like so mad if somebody doesn't come to one of my classes. Like, how dare they? How am I going to get this information into them? Like none of my classes are like, yeah, today's just like hang out and eat Pop-Tarts day and let's be friends. Like it's never like that. Everything is practice, practice, practice. Learn.
But everything we were worried about, everybody was worried about over the summer. What if students don't want to wear masks? What if students do blah, 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 blah? None of that happened. And
That's true, yeah.
I wasn't necessarily, I don't think I was one of those people. I was just like, it was a huge amount of fretting on whatabouts.
Well,
and there are some huge whatabouts, which is like, what about, if there's a new variant, or what about if the students don't get vaccinated? Those are big ones, right? The smaller ones about like, what if this person does this in this very specific situation and I have to solve a problem? And it's like, you know what?
That's true. Yeah,
that's what teaching is.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what interacting with humans is. It's kind of like, things are going to happen. Some things you can plan for, some things you can't, and you're going to have to learn to deal with them. And so if you spend a huge amount of time on the whatabouts, and that's what I'm learning too, is that, that was what was, maybe the positive of last year, is like understanding that, we can move pretty quickly on these things. It's like everything's not going to completely fall apart 100%. People are going to complain. There are going to be problems, but it wasn't the end of the world. We were able to adapt. And so at least having a better understanding of adaptability and not spending so much time thinking about 100 scenarios and just being prepared for one of those scenarios to happen.
The thing about people like refusing to wear masks, though, that's a constant strain on our kids. Like the one that's in junior high said, there are kids who refuse to wear their masks and they have them down underneath their chins, or they'll pull it down and they'll whistle like that and then like make a face like, I'm so naughty and stuff. And that would be a terrible strain. But I was thinking today, just this week, I was thinking about how hard school is for our children. I'm. Like how they need mental health days and stuff. Just the kids in general now. Like, school is so hard. They need mental health days and stuff. And why is it so hard exactly? Like, are they learning harder things than when we went to school? Like, what's different? What's changed? Just guns? I want to know.
Not to be an old man, but I do think social media and phones and smartphones and
I think so too.
Constant social, contact, right? So your social interaction never goes away. You don't have a safe haven, or not even a safe haven, just downtime. It's like your whatever. I did not enjoy. Yeah, I did. I took mental health days. They weren't called that. It was like, I'm not going to school days. I feel sick, and I'm not going to school today. That to me is the same thing as a mental health day. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, if it was made now, it would be called Mental Health Day, right? It's just a different way of viewing it, different type of terminology, different perspective. But the reality is that, people don't enjoy, being in one set place, and people don't enjoy doing work they have to do instead of work they want to do. But the argument is, and I'm not being a Protestant work ethic jerk. Hard unpleasant work sometimes is
fulfilling.
Well, no, no.
Okay.
Worth the trouble for the end result.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like only working. And yeah, there was some great article about how this idea of work should be enjoyable or should be fulfilling is a relatively new idea. Previously, it was like let's try to figure out how we can reduce the amount of work so you can go do the fulfilling stuff. Which was what
And now
that's
work
why
is supposed to be holistically
the work week,
yeah.
got smaller
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything like that. It was
Yeah.
so you had more time to do other things, be social, go out, have a hobby, go on vacation, take care of your children, spend time with your children, right? It was like, oh, work is work, and then life is the stuff you do around it, and we should try to figure out a way to, so it was moving work from survival to a part of survival, but not, like work as survival to me. And it's like, oh, you work, 12 hours a day in a factory, or you work in a field to keep yourself alive. But if you did that kind of, farm work, then you had 3 or 4 or 5 months off,
Yeah.
except for the animals,
Yeah. Unless you died. Unless
you
you got,
died. Well,
you got,
no, there's
what's it
plenty
called?
of stress and work in that. But
the,
but yeah, it's just this
The
idea.
bugs came.
So I'm not saying you should do work that makes you completely miserable, but I'm also saying work should not be. That in some ways is a trick from our capitalistic
agree.
overlords to get
Yeah.
us to work more. Is that this work should be a life fulfilling thing? As you're making your Chick-fil-A sandwich for the 3 millionth customer. You should be happy.
Okay. Do you have a list of things
What do you mean?
to talk about?
I have a few things to talk about.
Okay.
But no.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things, like I was just like, so we've eaten ourselves silly for 2 days now. But something you said yesterday, I don't know if this is on your list, but you were like all blown away by something the Weezer guy said. Was it Weezer or Ween? I can't remember. Ween, Dead Milkman. Who was it?
It was the Weezer guy,
Weezer guy.
which I love calling him the Weezer guy.
Is that on your list?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, what?
Well, it was on another podcast. Why should I talk about?
Oh,
you can
okay.
just listen to another podcast.
Okay. Was it one of your podcasts?
No.
Okay. Well, what was it?
Oh, he just made an observation about, the whole construct. I don't want to get into it, which was kind of weird and uncomfortable, but talking about Nirvana versus Weezer and talking about Kurt Cobain's voice being, complex because it had lots of harmonics and complexity because he's screaming. Yeah. And so he could sing melodies that were simpler because every time you heard it and he was singing it was a much more complex sort of experience, right? Yeah.
It'd be harmonics and stuff.
Yeah, and it was just like every time he sang the same melody, it had variety to it. Whereas the Weezer guy singing in a clean, pure tone that puts a lot more responsibility on making more complex, engaging melodies, right? You can't get away with simplicity as much. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. You were like mind blown, and so was I. We were like marveling over that for a little while.
But then the question is well, then like if you listen to the Police, for instance, and you just sat and wrote down the lyrics directly from the songs, you would see so much repetition. And I think melodically, I guess there's variety there. The melodies are complex.
Are they the ones that wrote the song Dee Doo Da Da?
Yeah, exactly.
Dee Doo Doo Doo?
And then you start, if you listen from a songwriting perspective and you start listening to how many times Sting will repeat the same words or a chorus, and it's like, wow, it is actually kind of a feat. And I would argue that his voice is not, he's singing in a clean, pure tone, but yet somehow even though there's this brutal amount of repetition, it doesn't feel repetitive, right? It feels engaging. So that's now that I think about it, kind of this idea breaks down, right? So I don't know.
Because you don't have You don't necessarily. Well, it's. I mean, I feel like sometimes poster children would use a crutch, like, well, we only have 2 chords, but we make it louder and softer. Let's do
Well,
quiet.
is that a
and then
crutch
play
or is
louder.
it a?
It is not. It's a part of. It's a parameter in music
Yeah,
composition.
compositional method?
Yeah.
How do you add variety? And
Yes.
yeah, and it's minimalism and it's exploring. But
Yeah.
no, it
Yeah.
is.
It is
It
minimalism.
was interesting.
Okay. All right. So what's on your list?
I guess we could talk about music again. Mike Nesmith dying.
Oh yeah, you were sad about that.
I was sad.
Okay. Well, let's talk it out. We're
Talk
here for you, Rick.
Talk out the sadness.
Mm-hmm. When did you first come across Mike Nesmith?
Well, that's the thing.
And what did
is,
he mean to you?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is so for me, and I think a lot of people my age. So I'm not old enough. So the Monkees show was originally on television at 6:30, 5:30 Central. On weeknights, some weeknight, which again, that's so strange. Is like network television used to start, or was it 6? Or it would have been 7:30, 6:30 Central. So started earlier than the 7 p.m. 6 p.m., 7 p.m. No, 7 p.m.
So like 6 to 7 was dinner time, family dinner time.
Yeah, and so prime time used to start earlier, and they were like so Batman I think was on at that time too. So they were like sort of lighter weight network shows, and so the Monkees was one of those. But yeah, definitely that was right around the time I was born. So I did not see the Monkees when they were originally on, but for people my age, our age, they were on Saturday morning. So you'd have your Saturday morning cartoons, and Monkees was a half hour of that.
Was that before the Shazam ISIS hour?
Yeah,
Because
so early
it would be
70s.
before?
So that's the
Okay.
thing is when I was 4 or 5.
Oh, I meant like be in the morning before.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what time
Okay.
of the day it was on. Like what time slot. Apparently I know what time slot. Yeah, I know what time slot they originally aired on was because I've read the Monkees day by day, and so I know things about First Run. And it actually probably might have the Saturday morning because and just if you go look up and you see there are like cereal commercial with the Monkees, cereal commercials, and that's obviously when after the show was over had been canceled and they were showing it on Saturday morning. And so for me it was a Saturday morning show. And so really, I mean, I've talked about the Beatles where my brother saw that I've tried to find this. There was the Muppets singing Yellow Submarine, I think. And so we went to Pearson's Music Shop.
Oh,
so,
yeah, I remember this story.
Yeah, and my mom wanted to get Yellow Submarine sung by the Muppets for my brother, and they didn't have it. And so they said, well, we have this, which was the Yellow Submarine soundtrack on vinyl. And my mom and dad had seen the movie when it came out, and I was like, okay, yeah, no, this will be fun. And so my brother and I, first kind of record experience sort of if the soundtrack, the Yellow Submarine soundtrack album is a very strange record. It's half George Martin instrumentals and then half, it's got Yellow Submarine on it, but then it's got songs like It's All Too Much and Hey Bulldog, which are kind of not throwaway, but they're strange B-sides, Beatles B-sides, not your normal Beatles songs. So that was our earliest sort of musical pop music experience. My parents my mom listened to more like folk music and stuff like Bridge Over Troubled Water. She had that album, for instance. But thinking back at that time, the Beatles were not as important. It was just like, oh yeah, this is this record and this song, but we weren't listening to it. I don't think we had. Yeah, this would have been before the Red and Blue compilation albums. We got those a little later, and so the Monkees was really like the first rock band. I wouldn't have seen A Hard Day's Night. Wouldn't have seen Help. Wouldn't have seen Beatles videos because they had broken up, or movies or whatever, And so the Monkees, it was really my first kind of rock and roll pop music fan experience, right? So those songs were really important to me. It was my first kind of, before I started listening to the radio, right? So it was like radio. And I think it might have been true for a lot of people, especially with that Saturday morning thing. And so that was what was really interesting about it. But also why they got diminished as being a teeny bopper band, when they first happened, and then becoming, what these little 5-year-olds were watching and listening to. If you were like a 20-something rock and roller, and then there's a 5-year-old kid who's really into the Monkees, that's going to diminish the, in your mind, that make them even more of a pop group. So yeah, that was my first exposure, was, this great band. And I loved it. I loved the songs.
Stephen William says, Pearson's, I bought Talk Talk's It's My Life vinyl there.
And so to explain, there were record stores, but like for instance, my mom would not have taken us to the Swollen Head, right, which was a record store that I went to in high school much later, but was terrifying, right? It was terrifying for me to go to the Swollen Head, so basically a head shop. And then there was Beautiful Day Records, right, which I went to religiously when I was in high school. Record stores, but like a lot of times if you wanted to buy records,
Chicago suburbs,
you go to a music shop, so they sold musical instruments. They had magazines. I remember getting like, what's it called? National Lampoon, was there. Pearson's had that, and they had records, right? So you could buy records there. It wasn't a dedicated record store, but what was I going to say? Yeah. So that childhood experience, and then what was really great is that, and so that song we played it. That song, Byron's song, right? Poster Children, Byron's song. Byron, who I went to high school with. I don't know this for a fact, but he was a Mormon, and he was really into the Monkees. And I don't know if it was because the Monkees were considered by his family to be rock and roll that was tolerable, right? That was appropriate, and he could listen to it. But in high school, we kind of bonded and rediscovered. He had a bunch of Monkees tapes. He recorded the albums, had copies of the albums, and I got back into, it's like, oh, you like the Beatles? You should listen to this, this Monkees record. And I'm like, the Monkees, that stuff I used to listen to when I was in, preschool. And it was like, and then realizing that there was a lot more there, right? So the crazy, weird, like songs like Daily Nightly with the synthesizers. And so that was really important too, is like, being 15 or 16 and a budding kind of music fanatic, and realizing that the Monkees, they were a lot more than just this TV show, kind of kids TV show. And then in college, obviously the big thing is that MTV just started showing the Monkees again. Oh. And then it all, like, that's when they got back together. They were cool again. They had a hit song, which was I did not enjoy, but and Mike Nesmith wasn't part of that. But yeah, and then around that time, so Mike Nesmith doing the video stuff, so I was aware of like Elephant Parts, and Mike Nesmith showed up on David Letterman. It was like, so David Letterman was cool, and weird and cutting edge back, in the early 80s, and then Mike Nesmith shows up and he talks about Elephant Parts and the music videos he's been doing, and he's kind of like this weird dude, and it's like, and you were also in the Monkees, and he's like, yeah, and it was just like the weirdness of realizing that this guy who had the woolen cap is this weird kind of slightly new wave but older bearded guy who's making music videos. And then like a year or two later, well, there was the movie about the motorcycle, Lyle Swan or whatever. It's like Time Rider, right? Is Time Rider? Yeah, Time Rider. Like Mike Nesmith did the music for it and produced it. And then, of course, the big thing was like going to see Repo Man in the movie theater and seeing Mike Nesmith's name on it. So that was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, why?
What did he do for Repo Man?
He produced it. He made it happen.
Yeah. Wow.
He's the guy who made it happen. And so it was like, okay, and yeah, and then our group of people in when we started playing, in college.
That's right. One of the first songs we played was Sunday Bloody Sunday, or what
Pleasant
is it called?
Valley Sunday.
Pleasant Valley Sunday. I knew it was a Sunday.
Wow. And we didn't do a medley or
We
anything,
didn't play
did we?
Sunday, Bloody Sunday.
Right. We played
We
with or without you.
jokingly
We
played.
played with or without you the day it came out.
Did we actually? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I will always go like. Well, Matt sometimes breaks out the.
Yeah. Yeah. Sunday Bloody Sunday. Yeah. No, you're right. And yeah. So yeah. And then I've gone through various monkey phases, It's just like realizing, as you realize and you unravel it more and you read more about it. And so, yeah, like I got really into the Monkees, the original Monkees Day by Day. So there's the Beatles book about their recording process and, the sort of records of all the recordings and what time they were done and what tracks and what takes and everything like that. Their manager, what's his name? Andrew. I can't remember his name. I just bought a new copy of the book, the updated version, but the original was the same thing. There's a day-by-day book of the Monkees, and it's astounding because it talks about their recording, but then it also talks about them filming. And so so obviously the Beatles made movies, but it's pretty overwhelming looking at the Beatles calendar, basically their recording schedule, right? If you step through it and you realize, wow, they're just cranking out stuff. But then you look at the Monkees for like 3 years. It's like, I think over the course of 3 years, making albums. And true, they weren't necessarily always playing on them initially, but they were singing on them, but also, and then filming, 26 episodes in a year? More than that. It was an astonishing number of half-hour television episodes, and seeing that schedule and just how they cranked out all that stuff. And then the more you learn about how, which songs were Mike Nesmith's songs, that he actually wrote some of the songs and had written songs before and was fighting to get control because he kind of was under the perception that because he had produced music and written songs and released music, that he was going to be a part of that process. And Don Kirshner was really not interested in having this, Texas, 20-something Texas dude telling him that, what songs to record, or that they should record his songs or other people's songs also, or they should be produced this way. And so, as you read more and more into it and you realize, this is a much more complex band. And then, it's not Mike Nesmith, but listening, I remember years ago hearing Davy Jones just go off on an extended rant about, basically when somebody on the radio talking to him about, how the Monkees weren't real, because they were saying other people's songs. And he's just like, the Turtles, Flo and Eddie, they did a whole bunch of other people's songs. And there were a whole bunch of musicians. If you listen to all of 1960s music, it was played by the same 10 musicians in the Wrecking Crew. And Davy Jones just went like ballistic because he's like, even the Beach Boys, he's like the Beach Boys. Like, they didn't play on anything. It's all, So Brian Wilson wrote the songs and produced them, but, they barely played on their stuff. And he just kind of went on this extended rant about the division between the real musicians and the fake musicians. And he was very unhappy that he was being piled into this kind of fake musician category, even though Davy Jones was the least sort of songwriterly person out of that. But he was a singer, right? In the same way, like Cher was a singer.
Right. That's what I remember, like, just from hearing about the Monkees was like, they're not performing they didn't perform their own songs.
Yeah.
Like somebody else wrote those songs for them. And I was like, they suck. They're not like the Beatles who write their own songs.
And it's true. They were, it was only half true. But the thing is that a lot of people, it was a transitional time.
Right,
and so that's
right.
the thing.
Yeah. Before that, you didn't play your own songs.
And I actually had a little bit of a, it was kind of like talking about Jimi Hendrix. It's like Jimi Hendrix, genius and everything like that. But if you look at like Jimi Hendrix in 1966, it's Chaz Chandler leaving the Animals, looking to do production and finding an artist and trying to do that thing that everybody else was doing, which is putting together bands, having them play songs, and then selling, this band that they manufactured. And so the Jimi Hendrix experience was not an organic thing. It was Chaz Chandler taking Jimi Hendrix from New York and plopping him into London, putting him together with these other two musicians. And obviously, the guy's a genius, but it started out as a package thing. But then very quickly in that year, like basically in the year of 1967, so on top of it, Jimi Hendrix touring with the Monkees, right? Everything. And the frickin' Monkees being at like the recording of Day in the Life, the Beatles, like hanging out with the Beatles, like Mickey and Mike are in the footage. You can see them. That there was a flip going on where it was like, and the Beatles, did write their own songs, but a lot of people didn't, and a lot of people didn't play on their own songs, right? And yeah, if you have any knowledge of the Wrecking Crew, you know that. And so, where am I going with this? Oh yeah, it's just that they kind of got caught in that transitional era. But the thing is that the argument that they didn't write anything, right, or none of them were musicians. I mean, Peter Tork was a musician, also had performed, and then Mike Nesmith was actually a songwriter and producer.
Yeah,
in addition to being a musician.
You were the one who let me know, well, that's not true. These guys actually did write their own music.
And, frickin' two of the songs on Love Forever Changes, right? Everybody talks about Love Forever Changes, and the Wrecking Crew are on two of those because the rest of the band was so smacked out that they couldn't play the songs. And so whatever, was it Bruce Botnick or one of the Doors, the same producer, just said, okay, we're going to get the Wrecking Crew in here. They're going to play the songs, and you sing it. Arthur Lee sang it, and then everybody else, the band was out, and then they got their shit together and actually played on the rest of the record. But
Wait, okay. So you're saying the Monkees did drugs? Am I missing?
I'm talking about Love, the band
Love. Oh,
even
okay.
so, this band that was on most of the records, or this sort of considered one of the greatest records of all time. The band did play on most of the record, but two of the songs they did not. The Wrecking Crew played on that, right? So even something that's considered like an icon of sort of that era of music, singer-songwritery kind of stuff, right? It was totally manufactured or played by studio musicians. So
we didn't play on any of our songs.
That's right.
Hello, Tim Bowers. Hello. No, we played on all of them, right? Did you have to redo all my bass parts?
No, we had Darcy come in.
Yeah.
Actually,
nice.
we had
Billy Corgan.
Billy
come in?
Corgan played all your bass parts for you.
Yeah.
Sorry to break it to you.
Rats.
So this actually goes to. Did we talk? We talked about Get Back, right? So I'm gonna be heretical here. Is that right? Heretical.
If it means like you saying, "Wow, I hate the Beatles." Then,
Okay, so
okay, sorry.
I talked about the miracle of Get Back, which is that somehow in less than 3 days they go from being complete shambles to playing a pretty spectacular live set, right? And it's true they only played 4 songs and they played a couple of them over. But you'll notice that in the movie it cuts then to them downstairs in the studio, the recording studio that they had set up in the building, the Apple headquarters, right, that they just played on the roof, and they were listening to the songs back. And so one of my frustrations is how amazing that performance is. So my heretical question is they fix some of it? So that was a traditional thing to do with live music, like even live at Budokan, right? There's a lot of live at Budokan is because the bass didn't even get recorded, right? Is that true? But I can't remember what actually didn't even get on tape on live at Budokan. I think it was the bass. And so typically like live recordings, and then on top of it, the Beatles were already a studio band. So now I'm starting to think, oh yeah, why? Yeah, they probably fixed a bunch of stuff.
Do you personally know any bands that may have fixed their live record or a live video of theirs?
Regardless, it's possible. And that's all I'm thinking. I'm just like, wait a minute. Yeah, maybe they're not. It's miraculous. And even even if they fix stuff, it's still miraculous. I'm not demeaning them. I am just trying to accept or trying to be realistic about these things. Is that people cheat all the time, right? There are all sorts of the recording process is a lie in and of itself, right? It's a game of pretend, and so that idea of the live album as being a more accurate representation, it's like, okay, maybe it is, but it might be a complete lie also. And so, so I'd love to know. I'd love to get some inside information.
Who would you have to get that from?
Oh, I'd have to
Nobody would
hold
talk.
Giles Martin hostage and force him to show me all. Not even him. He doesn't even do the tape transfers. It's whoever did the tape transfers. But yeah, if you can hear a little bloop where there's an overdub, fix, punch in, punch out.
Don't swear or anything. We've got Chris. We got a youngster listening here. Chris Rieger is listening. Our student. He's laughing out loud, but I was pretty sure he was laughing about the Billy Corgan shout out. So I understood that reference. Just kidding, Chris. Okay. So did you talk enough about the Beatles? Did you talk about it the last time?
I did.
You did,
I
yeah.
talked enough.
Okay. All right. What else is on your list?
That was it. I think that was enough of me
What?
talking. That was like a half-hour monologue that went from the Monkees to looped it back into Get Back somehow.
It's all the same band.
Whatever I have to do to keep myself going and not give up, basically. It's like...
Well, okay, so what are you listening to, or what are you watching recently? You were watching Succession.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
You were getting
yeah.
all upset about it. I decided I was going to sleep in the TV room with you guys for a little while, like to try to, because you and Dow are in the TV room every night, either watching Seinfeld or whatever, and then I'm always like just sitting like zombied out, like in the kitchen eating. That's like what I do. So I decided I'd go in there, and I remember I was laying on the floor, and I was like, this Succession thing, I should watch this, and I opened up like one eye. And it was like, like it was like filmed on a GoPro on somebody, like on a dog's head or something. And I was like, nope. And I shut my eyes.
Oh, yeah. I read an interview with it was the director or maybe the cinematographer. They actually shoot on film, which is astounding.
Ugh. On a GoPro, though?
No, film.
On a rat head?
No, but yeah, that was saying like keeping...
On a squirrel?
He was saying that with television shows, they start out a lot of times with this really interesting way of filming, and then they slowly, as time goes on, everyone figures out how to do it, and then the cinematography, or just kind of the way the show is filmed, gets
They
really...
realize people like me are not going to watch it.
No, they just kind of fall into a groove. The crew and everybody just kind of knows how to shoot everything, and so they're actually actively trying to find a mix between handheld and like doing it's even though it's shot on film, they're not making it 100% cinematic, right? They're trying to walk this really interesting line. So I'm gonna have to watch it again just to watch that. But what was so our kid called it. He walked in and said, what is this depressing Veep? So that's but it's like definitely like HBO show humor. But yeah, and it is. It's just kind of like it's harder to see the humor, but I definitely laugh. I don't laugh as much in Succession as I would when I watched Veep, but it definitely has similar humor, I would say.
Okay, you have a question here. Tim Schwartz. One other question about the recording. Those were 4-track, maybe 8-track at a stretch, studio setups back then, and dubs to a live recording may be a bit more obvious.
Yeah, you're right. That is an interesting... Yeah, you're right. So it was 8-track. Yeah, because they started out with George's 8-track, and then they brought in the EMI 8-track. But it was 8-track. So, and Glyn Johns, so Get Back, and then the Abbey Road sessions are the only stereo instances of Ringo. But that means, 2 tracks for drums? Yeah, and so the question is I need to look at the multi-tracks, like the records, and see what they actually did for the live recording. Like, did they split it all off? Like, is it 2 tracks for drums and then a track for bass, a track for guitars, 2 tracks for guitars, and then what does that leave? I didn't do my math. Is that just 2 tracks for vocals? So you're right. Yeah. But it doesn't mean it. Yeah, punching in might be more difficult. Yeah, that's in fact, that's very true. Punching in would be difficult, but wiping a vocal track and putting in a new one would be very easy to do.
Bouncing, just, yeah.
Yeah, and bouncing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, but actually they may not have had 2. That's the thing, is they may not have had 2 8-track machines at Apple. So yeah, maybe it is all live.
So have you ever fixed any of our live stuff?
Yes, of course.
I know.
Yeah. No, it's yeah.
Okay, we have a message from Evan Lamp here. The final Let It Be product went through Phil Spector's greasy pause full year after the live performances were recorded.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Is that a question?
No, it's a statement. So
yeah,
there
no,
you go.
no. I'm talking about. So if you watch the Get Back performance, right? It's supposedly the live tapes, right? So in theory, what's being recorded in the basement while they're performing on being filmed, right? That's the impression you get when you're listening to it, and it sounds great. It sounds like Let It Be Naked, right? Kind of.
Which is my favorite Beatles cover band.
Exactly.
So you said instances of Ringo, and I was like, which is my favorite Albuquerque? Like I was waiting to make that joke. My favorite band that we played with in Albuquerque.
I don't even remember instances of Ringo.
Yeah.
Stereo
well,
Ringo.
Like Okay, so the camera is sinking beneath the waves again. My camera.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I don't care. I'm a little blurrier now. I actually look nice. Okay, what else you got?
I don't know. We're almost to an hour, aren't we?
Yeah.
What can we fill out the hour with?
What's on your list?
That was it. I didn't have a lot on my list.
Like, oh man.
Succession. I didn't really talk about Succession,
No.
but yeah. No, it's super upsetting. I'm not going to spoil anything. So yeah, I watched the first season, and then at the end of the first season, I felt so bad I was so upset about one of the characters that I kind of decided I didn't want to watch it anymore. But then I needed something to watch, and I finally broke down and watched. I basically binge watched season 2 and 3, and then season 3's finale was last weekend. So, and it's upsetting because it is so much. I don't know. Politics, right? And so if you're in academia, actually, if you're just in anything, any kind of human endeavor that involves dealing with other people, right, and decisions and people's careers.
I was talking about I was talking about how Seinfeld, I think that made uncomfortable social situations. It makes it easier to talk, or it allows you to talk about uncomfortable situations. Because the weird social situations that happen in that show are so they're so funny. They're presented in such a funny way that it's remember that happened on Seinfeld. Even
Yeah.
I had what
You
happened?
had a big salad moment.
Yeah. Something happened. You guys were like, "Oh, that happened on a TV show. Let me tell you about it." Like both you and the 12-year-old, and then I felt a little bit better because it happened to somebody else on a TV show. Tim Schwartz says, and Dannon says, "Thanks for fixing the camera." I wonder if Dannon's back from his amazing travels overseas, seeing bands that I listened to in college. You saw James. I listened to that in high school, I think. Tim Schwartz says, right, they mentioned mixing down. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. Dannon is back. Best recent creative TV miniseries is Landscapers on HBO Max with David Thewlis and
I haven't watched
Olivia
that
Colman. 2 episodes so far in. Tim Schwartz says, sorry, so many comments from me. Quick question for Rose. Have I detected a disdain for the Beatles? If so, curious why. I don't have
That's like a
softball
right there, or
disdain for the Beatles.
Like dangling a baby calf in front of a shark. It's like
A shark?
Is this?
Do
I have
sharks-
a question. If I
sh-
dangle this baby calf in front of a shark, will
You know
it
who my
eat it?
favorite Beatle is? Yoko Ono. And I can talk about her artwork. The only thing redeeming about the Beatles is that they went out with Yoko Ono. There, yeah, I'm sound stupid, but yeah.
Yoko didn't
leave
break
it
up the Beatles. The Beatles, John Lennon ruined a great artist's career.
Well, she's still got a
Right?
career.
What is the joke? I can't remember. It's a good joke though. Yeah.
Okay, so and we're almost at an hour. It's so nice that people are. Well, I hope that everybody has a good a good holiday season. Like I saw James 4 times. I know, that's crazy.
That doesn't seem fair.
Vin Mars says, I'm watching over YouTube. Thanks for multi-streaming. Watch Homeland, best television show I've ever seen.
Yeah, I
Claire
watched.
Danes is a national treasure. Ooh,
National
I have to watch that.
I watched.
I like
That
Claire
reminds
Danes.
me, there was so the girlfriends on Seinfeld. It's astounding. Where it's just like, wow, who's this? Where are they from? You know, every
Yeah,
every
there's always
episode.
a new girlfriend.
But the girl on, it was like My So-Called Life, right? There was Claire Danes, but then there was another girl that was like a weird, like almost like a valley girl or something. I had no memory until I'm like who is this actress playing Jerry's girlfriend this episode? And then I look it up and it's like, oh, she was on My So-Called Life. What is that? What it was called?
Silicon Valley.
No.
Right?
This different
that
one.
was-
My So-Called Life, and it's like, oh my God, yeah, she played that character, and it was like, oh my God, I don't even remember. I barely remember watching that show, which Claire Danes was in. That's why I'm saying this. But yeah, no, the yada 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 woman is the
Robot Woman from the best TV show ever
from Silicon
made.
Valley.
Silicon Valley. I'm going to say, like, for the rest of our Radio Zeros, I'm going to say Silicon Valley is my favorite TV show ever. I think I like it more than Star Wars. I love it so much.
And
There's a
I
lot
remember
of people chiming in here.
what I was going to say about Seinfeld is like we're in season 9 now. We've been working our way through.
How many
And
seasons are there?
So Larry David left after season 7, and I kind of feel like the 8th season was funnier.
Well,
I actually
I
feel
mean,
like
you could experience burnout after 7 years,
Yeah.
maybe. Oh my God, that's enough. You need some new blood in there.
although by the end it seemed like they were just echoing, like they
many-
intentionally and obviously echoed the previous season, but it was like,
I love that you guys watch that though. It's so comforting to hear that. Ding, 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 ding,
oh,
ding,
it's the least comforting
I
part
know,
of that show.
it's comforting. I know that you guys are in there with our friends and
Yeah.
and you're
These
you're
awful people.
laughing. Yeah, they are there. Okay. Yeah. What I was gonna say is that I hope that everybody has hope there's not too much depression. I was just recently thinking about like a problem in my life and a friend's life, and it's like, oh my God, what do we do about this? And then I just started thinking, like take a deep breath and like just be happy that you're alive right now. Like it's like it's beautiful outside. Like I'm looking outside right now. It's freezing cold and it's like this weird blue color, but I mean it's you're gonna make it's a Wonderful Life
No.
thing. Okay, good.
What I
because
was going to
never saw
complain
that
about,
movie.
I was going to complain about so I'm
Oh,
not
the grass is
a
growing.
lawn
nuts.
guy. I'm not a lawn guy.
No.
I
Happy
maintain
holidays, Danny. Go on.
my lawn maintenance involves me mowing the lawn so that the neighbors don't form a mob and burn our house down, right? So
The neighbors, all right. The neighbors have a giant freaking racist
by what I
Indian
mean,
coin
what
on
I mean
one
by
side.
neighbors.
The other-
Stop enough.
Okay.
But what I mean by neighbors is just the community in general, right? There are lawn standards, and so you can't let your lawn go too far, or else you will be a pariah.
Have
right?
you walked down the street?
Yeah, no. There's a lot of latitude in our neighborhood, right?
My
But
God.
what I'm trying to explain is my
Okay.
perspective on the lawn. I occasionally fertilize with Milorganite, which, if you know, is right from the feces of the people of Milwaukee, right? Is the Milwaukee's sewage treatment plant, right? Makes Milorganite.
What's it called?
Milorganite.
And where did you hear about that?
It's an organic fertilizer. So
Ah.
occasionally
Is
I
it vegan?
haven't tried it.
No, not if
I think it is. So yeah, I
not
don't
if
know.
it's from the peoples of Milwaukee's
Yeah.
feces.
and I don't know if that's where they still get it from, but I believe it used to be from the sewage of Milwaukee, made from Milwaukee sewage. I'll do that, and I'll mow the lawn. But it's slowly becoming a hybrid of, what is it, Creeping Charlie and clover,
Mud.
clover and regular grass, right?
Yeah.
And so it's green, right? And then I mow it. It's not beautiful. We don't water it unless something horrible happens.
No, we've never watered
Actually,
the
yeah,
grass.
I don't think we have a working sprinkler anymore.
We have no sunlight either, April.
But we took out a tree. We took out a
Oh,
tree
I
a
know.
while ago.
She's saying it's winter solstice. Good.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
we took out a tree.
Took out a tree. Finally got the stump ground out. Huge tree, 100-year-old tree. That we took it out because it threatened our house. You know, the part of it fell off, and then if we had left it,
There's
we
an
had to
alert.
kill it. We had to kill it before it killed us, basically.
Yeah.
And got the stump ground out, and then filled in that area with dirt and our tree guy, and we put some grass in there, just like a month or two ago.
Grass seed.
Grass seed, right? With the idea, oh yeah, put some in there now, and then in the spring, you know, maybe it'll germinate in the spring when things warm up, and then I'll put more grass on in the spring when things warm up. And then today we pulled into the driveway, and the freaking grass is sprouting.
There's grass sprouting in the neighbor's yard too, I think.
Yeah,
Well, it was really warm last week.
So yeah, the
It
intention
was like almost 70 here.
is it was going to sit there
It's not
dormant for 3 or 4 months.
I don't think you have to worry.
And now it's actually sprouted. But I do have to worry. You know why I have to worry? It's because that's not normal. Not normal in December to see little grass seedlings sprouting up like the beard on a post-pubescent 14-year-old. You know, it's like, oh my God. So what's going
That's
to
not
happen?
supposed to happen.
It's not supposed to happen. So that really upset me because it felt like, well, okay, I'm not going to have a problem growing grass, apparently, but also I don't have a problem growing grass in December in Illinois, in central Illinois. So that upset me. All right.
I'm sorry. I'm texting about rat shooting. You got to give the rat another shot. It's got to give him his meds.
All right. Have a good holiday. I guess we'll be back. Oh, is it New Year's? What's 17 plus 17 plus 14? Ooh, boy, New Year's
20,
Eve. I don't know if we'll
31.
do an episode.
Ooh.
We'll see.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Live stream. All right.
All right. Yes. Happy holidays to everybody.